Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Tuesday morning yoga class. My name is Beth Combs, and today is Tuesday, August 18th. We'll just be doing kind of a slow and gentle but steady movement practice, a flow practice to just kind of slowly wake up our bodies, our minds, and our spirits and get us ready for our day. So we don't really need any props this morning. You'll see I have my blocks and my strap. I might not use the strap, but I usually sit up on some blocks. So if you have blocks and you'd like to sit up on something, especially in the morning, our hips in particular, I find are very tight. So maybe a cushion, sofa cushion, or a big pillow could also be used to sit up on. So we are going to go ahead and step over to our mats and get started. I hope you're able to join me live, and if not, watch the replay later on. I just find that my day, I'm just in such a different mindset when I do my practice in the morning first thing, or at least before I get going for work. It just really makes my day so much better to take the time to do that. So let me get my watch started. And we're gonna sit in simple cross-legged pose, or I just call it cross-legged pose. I don't think it feels very simple in my body. Maybe you feel differently, and that is okay. But just allowing ourselves to recognize how we feel in certain poses. I feel like our culture really teaches us we need to push down our feelings, especially any feelings of discomfort. But I think it's important to recognize those because I think it helps us set boundaries. And in the yoga world, it helps us to not push ourselves too far or too hard. And I think it also can help us recognize, what our limitations are and try to um, accept that for who we are, where we're at that point in time. Each day I step on the mat, every pose is different, and maybe you've noticed that as well. So I just invite you to give yourself space and compassion in your practice to feel however your body may need to feel this morning, and that's okay. So we're going to sit up nice and tall. We want to really root those sits bones down into the mat, connecting with the earth, lengthening up the spine and out the crown of the head. We'll begin lengthening our inhales and exhales here. So we really want to soften our jaw, allow the top and the bottom teeth to part from one another. Allow the tongue, if it's pressing on the roof of the mouth, see if you can release it. So it's just kind of hovering in space. And then we're going to take our right hand, we're going to place it on the mat next to our right hip. We're going to inhale the left arm up alongside the ear and then over to the right, any amount. Maybe gaze up under that left arm. Then we'll inhale, we'll come back to center, we'll plant that left hand on the mat, inhale the right arm up alongside the right ear, and then exhale over to the left. Make sure you're not sinking into that left wrist, so really push up out of the left wrist, and maybe gaze up under the right arm. We'll inhale, we'll come back up to center. And then if you're sitting on something small like a block, you might want to move it out of the way. We're going to do some Kundalini circles here. I find that I get a little wobbly on the block. If you're on a pretty big like pillow or cushion, you could probably stay on that. We're going to inhale and bring the torso forward, and then exhale, pull the belly button back towards the spine. So we're just making hip circles while we're sitting. And then we'll change directions. And that felt good. And then we're going to flip onto our hands and knees into our tabletop position. We're going to do a few rounds of cat-cow here, but first we want to make sure we're set up properly with our wrists underneath our shoulders and our knees underneath our hips. We're going to inhale and lift our forehead and our tailbone up towards the sky. Exhale, pull the belly button back towards the spine. Inhale to come up. Exhale to pull back. Inhale to come up. Exhale to pull back. Inhale to come up. Exhale to pull back. And then take two more following your own breath pattern. Then we'll come back to center. And then we'll go ahead and come into our first down dog. So walk the hands about a palm's distance in front, flip the toes, and pull the hips up and back towards the sky. If you've got any wrist issues, you can actually bring the hands together, come down to the elbows, and lift the legs up into dolphin pose instead. So a couple options for you this morning. Feel free to pedal your feet out or walk your dog. Then we'll step the feet up in between the hands at the top of our mats. Inhale, lift the torso halfway up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, sweep the arms up and around. And exhale the hands to heart center. We'll take our sun salutations here. First couple will be a little bit slower just to, again, kind of warm up the body, wake the body and the joints up a little bit. We'll inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lift the torso halfway up. Exhale, plant the hands, step the feet back. You can lower down to tabletop or chaturanga all the way to the mat. You're going to pull the tailbone towards the heels and inhale up to cobra. And then exhale, pull the hips up and back for downward facing dog. Again, feel free to pedal the feet out here. Then we're going to step the feet up in between the hands. Inhale and lift the torso halfway up. Exhale to fold forward. Inhale, sweep the arms up and around. Exhale the hands to heart center. We've got four more here. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lift the torso halfway up. Exhale, plant the hands, step the feet back. Lower down to tabletop and all the way to the mat. Press all 10 toes into the mat. Inhale the torso up to cobra. Exhale, pull up and back to downward facing dog. Then we're going to step the feet up in between the hands at the top of the mat. Then we're going to inhale, lift the torso halfway up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, sweep the arms up and around. Exhale the hands to heart center. We've got 3 more here. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lift the torso halfway up. Exhale, plant the hands, step the feet back, lower to tabletop or chaturanga, all the way to the mat. Pull the tailbone towards the heels. Inhale the torso up to cobra. Exhale, pull back to downward facing dog. Then we're going to step the feet up in between the hands at the top of the mat. Inhale, lift the torso halfway up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, sweep the arms up and around. Exhale the hands to heart center. Got 2 more here. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lift the torso halfway up. Exhale, plant the hands, step the feet back, drop down to tabletop or chaturanga, all the way to the mat. Pull the tailbone towards the heels. Inhale the torso up to cobra, or lift the legs up for upward facing dog. Exhale, pull back to downward facing dog. Then we'll step the feet up in between the hands. Inhale to lift the torso halfway up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, sweep the arms up and around. Exhale the hands to heart center. We've got 1 more here. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale and fold forward. Inhale, lift the torso halfway up. Exhale, plant the hands, step the feet back, lower down to tabletop or chaturanga. Pull the tailbone towards the heels. Inhale the torso up to cobra, or lift the legs for upward facing dog. Exhale, pull back to downward facing dog. Then we'll step the feet up in between the hands at the top of the mat. We'll inhale and lift the torso halfway up. We'll exhale and fold forward. Then we'll inhale, we'll sweep the arms up and around. We'll exhale the hands to heart center. We'll take a moment here in mountain pose. So check in with your mountain pose. Make sure your weight is even between all 4 corners of your feet. You want to actually be lifting the quads up away from the kneecaps, engaging the legs. You want to bring the front hip bones and the front ribs in toward one another, and then lengthen up the crown of the head. And we're going to take 5 rounds of resilience breath here with a mantra. The mantra is so hum, and it translates to I am that I am. So as we inhale, we'll say so, and as we exhale, we'll say hum. So we'll do that 4 more times. Inhale, so, exhale, hum. So, hum. 2 more times. So, hum. So, hum. 1 more time. So, hum. Take a couple breaths here. Then we'll take our tree pose next. So we're going to stand maybe in the center of your mat. We're going to root down through that right heel, really ground it down. We're going to firm the outer hip in toward the midline of the body on the right side. And we'll bring our left leg as a kickstand. The left heel is just above the right ankle. And just check in with your balance here. Maybe you're kind of wobbly already, and you can just stay right here. That's totally fine. I find that this is a pose that I definitely notice changes every time I do it. So just allow your body to be where it's at. If you feel pretty stable and you would like a little bit more, you can bring the left leg, the bottom of the left foot up higher on the calf or even on the thigh. Just avoid that knee area. So you don't want it right over your knee. So you really want to be squeezing the left foot and the right leg together. Maybe bring the arms up alongside the ears. We'll exhale, lower everything down. Go ahead and shake those legs out. So that's a great example of I felt like I was pretty wobbly, but then I went ahead and just tried and actually managed to balance better than I expected. So definitely check in with your body, try out different things, and then kind of settle in wherever your body feels like it needs to be this morning. Next, we'll firm ground through that left heel. We're going to firm the left outer hip in towards the midline of the body. We're going to bring our kickstand up. The right heel is actually above the left ankle. You can always stay right here. You can bring the foot up to the calf or to the inside of the thigh. I always find this one doesn't want to stay up the same way, so I usually end up being lower. Just make sure your hips are pointing straight ahead. You want to kind of have headlights on a car. You don't want to actually crank the right leg out really far. And then this time we'll try cactus arms. Really get a nice stretch across our collarbone. And we'll exhale, lower everything down. Go ahead and shake those legs out. And then we'll do a couple rounds of our Sun Salutation B. So we'll step up at the top of the mat. We're going to set up for our chair pose. So the feet can be hip distance apart, or you can bring the big toes to touch. So whatever your hips will allow for this morning. We're going to inhale and sink our seat into our chair pose. Sweep the arms up alongside the ears. Lift the toes so we can really engage the heels of the feet. Make sure you can still see your toes. You don't want your knees so far forward that you can't actually see your toes down below there. And squeeze the inner thighs in toward one another. Pull the tailbone down towards the mat. We'll take a few breaths here. Then we'll exhale and fold forward. Inhale, lift the torso halfway up. And then exhale, plant the hands, step the feet back, and lower to tabletop or chaturanga, all the way to the mat. You want all 10 toes pressing into the mat. Pull the tailbone towards the heels. Inhale the torso up to cobra, or lift the legs for upward facing dog. And then you can exhale back to downward facing dog. Then we're going to pick the right foot a couple feet up off the mat. Inhale, and then exhale, swing that through, plant it in between your hands. Drop the left knee down on the mat. You can stay right here this morning. Just check in, make sure your right ankle is tracking below your right knee. Maybe you can bring your hands up to your bent knee here. Maybe you can bring your arms up alongside your ears. Maybe you can take a little back bend. Then we'll plant the hands. You're going to plant the left hand next to the right foot, bring the right hand back to the right hip, and then twist the torso to the right any amount. Maybe you can even bring the arm so that the fingertips are reaching towards the sky, if your shoulder will allow it. If not, you can always come back to the hip. Then we'll plant that right hand, and then we're going to shift the hips back for a hamstring stretch here. Reaching the right toes towards the sky. You can bend this right knee if you need to, if the back of your thigh is pretty tight this morning. Resting your torso on the front of your thigh. Then we can come forward, plant that right foot, and we're going to bring the foot back to downward facing dog. Then we'll lift the left foot a couple feet off the mat. Inhale. Exhale, swing that foot forward, plant it in between the hands, lower that right knee down to the mat. Again, you can stay right here if you're feeling pretty wobbly this morning, or you can bring your hands up to your bent knee, or you can bring your arms up alongside the ears. Maybe take a back bend here. Then we'll take a little twist. So you'll plant the right palm next to the left foot. You're going to twist the torso over to the left. Left hand goes on the left hip. Or you can bring it up towards the sky. Then you can plant that left hand, and we're going to shift the hips back for our hamstring stretch on the left side. So you're going to reach those left toes up towards the sky. Again, feel free to bend the knee here if the hamstring is tight. And we'll inhale, we'll come back down with that left foot, and then we'll bring that foot back and come into our downward facing dog. We're going to inhale the right foot, lift it a couple feet off the mat. Exhale, bring it forward, plant the foot in between the hands. This time we're going to stay up with the left knee in crescent pose. So we'll sweep the arms up alongside the ears, and we're going to do a little dynamic stretching here. So we're going to inhale and bend that left knee towards the mat. Doesn't actually have to touch. Exhale to straighten the leg. Inhale to lower. Exhale to straighten. One more time. Inhale to lower. Exhale to straighten. And then feel free to take a little back bend here if you'd like a little bit more stretch in the front body. Then we're going to plant the hands and we're going to step back to our down dog. We're going to Lift the left foot off the mat a couple feet. Inhale. Exhale, plant that foot in between the hands. Leave that right knee up off the mat. We'll sweep the arms up alongside the ears. Then we'll lower that right knee a little bit. Exhale as we straighten 2 more times. Inhale to lower. Exhale to straighten. Inhale to lower. Exhale to straighten. And you can take a little back bend here. Make sure you're really pressing through that right heel. Then we'll plant the hands, step back to down dog, take a few breaths here. Then we'll step up to the top of the mat. We'll inhale, lift the torso halfway up. Exhale, fold forward. This time we're going to inhale as we drop our seat into chair pose. And then exhale to standing. Bring the hands together at heart center. We'll take a couple breaths here. Then we're going to go ahead and lower down for locust pose on our tummies. So you can get into tabletop and then lower yourself all the way down to the mat. We'll bring the big toes to touch. And we'll start off just by lifting just our torso and our hands up off the mat. So first off, we want to pull the tailbone down towards the heels, just like we did in our cobra pose earlier. Take an inhale, and then exhale, lift off the torso. Actually, leave the hands on the mat the first time. Then we'll exhale, lower down. You can place your right or left cheek on the mat. Then turn your chin back to center. Again, we'll pull the tailbone towards the heels. We'll inhale, and then we're going to exhale. We're going to lift the torso and the hands up off the mat. Then exhale, lower down. Change which cheek is on the mat first. This time we'll bring the hands down by the hips with the palms facing the sky. We'll turn the head back to center. Pull the tailbone towards the heels. This time we're going to inhale. And then exhale, we're going to lift the head, the chest, the hands, and the feet up off the mat. So keeping those big toes touching on your feet. And we'll exhale, lower everything down. Go ahead and rock from side to side. Loosen up the hips and the low back a little bit. We'll take one more variation here. We're going to bring our palms together. Thumbs are next to each other, resting on our tailbone. To turn the head to center. We'll inhale as we pull the tailbone towards the heels, and then we'll exhale as we lift the head, the chest, the toes, and the hands up off the tailbone. Then we'll exhale, lower everything down. Then we'll press the hips up and back into child's pose, really help lengthen out the low back. So again, you can have the thighs together and lower the torso down, or you can leave the big toes touching, widen the knees the width of your mat, and lower the torso down. Your arms will be extended out in front of you, forehead on the mat, elbows lifted, reaching that tailbone towards the heels. It does not have to touch, it just needs to go in that direction. And then we'll twist ourselves around, come onto our backs for our Shavasana. So get yourself as comfortable as you possibly can be. Allow the feet to splay open. You can bring the hands out at 45 degrees, about 45 degrees away from your body, or you could bring your arms up to goalpost or cactus arms if you want a little bit more stretch across the collarbone. So whatever position your body needs to be in to really settle in for some resting pose. And some people feel that this pose isn't necessary, but it actually is. We like to say it's the most important pose because it actually helps integrate your practice into each cell of your body. So allow yourself the extra time here to really allow your practice to sink in fully. We always rush from one thing to another in our lives, so it's really critical to slow down and kind of take time for those transitions. Begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Roll over to your right side. And then bring yourself up to a comfortable seated position. I hope this practice has helped you to build some resilience and set you up for a successful day ahead. The compassion, the love, and the light in me honors the compassion, the love, and the light in you. Thank you for practicing with me this morning. Namaste.